The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah!
Go Cowboys!
Let's go, baby!
Are you ready for a break?
Yes.
Are you ready for a break?
Absolutely.
Ready for a break?
Yeah, and so much for that.
It's time for The Break on DallasCowboys.com.
We were on the break!
With Ambar Garcia, Bryan Broaddus, Nick Harris, and Derek Eagleton.
It is Wednesday, October 9th, 2024, season 20, episode number 45. Welcome to the latest edition of The Break. We're live from SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star, presented by LG. LG is the world's #1 OLED TV brand for 11 years and counting. CY at LG.com/OLED Evo. How's everybody doing today?
Doing well. Back in the building. Sorry, guys.
Glad to have you back.
Yeah, last couple of days have been a little bit of a hustle and bustle, but back in the building.
But we held it down. Brian had some good questions for us yesterday, so we had a good discussion yesterday. Maybe some of those topics will come up today. We'll get your opinions on them. Let's start first, though, with some injury updates. Obviously, the Cowboys roster is a mash unit, and they're just kind of managing right now. Let's start first with Marshawn Kneeland. Obviously, after being injured in the game, the expectation is he's going to miss some weeks. They did actually sign a guy to the practice squad last week, KJ Henry. Brian, I don't think
signed to active roster.
Active roster. Sorry,
yeah.
I don't think we got a scouting report on him last week.
Let's see what I could do for you
Can you
today.
give me a little scouting report?
Yeah,
on him?
let me see if I could do that for you.
All right.
Send it to AG. AG, you want to do it? Got that scouting report?
I'll have to pull it up.
I got it right here. Watch me do this.
He's trying to buy time with me.
Exactly. Trying to buy some time. Yeah, I just want to make sure I had it because I got all these scouting reports in my head. And
The consummate radio guy knows you can't have dead air, so he's like, "AG, can you pull it up
okay,
real quick?"
KJ Henry. He was on the Cincinnati practice squad, and I watched him on the Commanders. He was a 5th-round pick by the Commanders in the 2023 NFL Draft, and he's got really good length. I like the way that he could play off blocks because of the length. I think that helped him. I saw some redirect skills in him. I didn't see a guy that was just up the field and then got stuck. Looked like he was able to kind of come back and make some play. They played him as a stand-up guy at times, so stand up, hand down, both with that. The read option stuff I thought was pretty good. They got a game against Carolina, preseason game, where they were kind of doing some of that read option stuff, and he looked like he was playing with some pretty good discipline and not to get fooled on that. The good patience, balance, good with his inside moves. I thought he closed down quickly on the plays that went away from him and squeezed the hole pretty well. Movement from the backside is really good. Can gain some ground with that first step and finds his way to the corner, can capture, but I think he needed to be more consistent doing that. I kind of felt like that he got there, but he couldn't exactly get around it with any kind of real consistency there. So I'm really impressed with the way he was able to kind of control blockers and how he extends on blockers. And so I felt like that there's going to be some depth with the current group that you got. Surprised he wasn't active the other day. But I guess he just wasn't ready to play. Maybe he didn't know what was going on. But I saw him as a positive player. When you start to poach guys, he was a guy, my gang of 7. If you're new to the show, my gang of 7 are my guys and gals around the league, the general managers and player personnel guys that do the film every week. And I asked him for 3 names of guys to go poach, and he was the top name on 4 of the 7.
Okay.
That they said that my guys said, hey, if you're going to go poach an edge, KJ Henry from Cincinnati was 4 of the 7, had him as the top guy. So here we go.
In your opinion, why was he relegated to a practice squad in Cincinnati this year?
It's I don't know. It's Cincinnati, and Cincinnati's struggling with their defense too. Maybe the thing that teams are that we're looking at of him, it's probably the pass rush stuff. It's because he's just not. I didn't see a guy that was that. We always talk about the bendy, being able to kind of get to and then find his way to the quarterback. That was a little bit of a struggle for him. Like he kind of gets there, but it just doesn't have that ability to capture that, then go. And I kind of felt like maybe that's where people are kind of knocking him a little bit on his. Did you remember him? Do you remember him coming out of
I
college?
do not actually.
Really?
Yeah, this was a new name whenever he popped up last week.
Yeah. Okay. Well, he was, like I say, I was impressed with the ability, some of the athletic ability that he showed, but the pass rush stuff, I think that it's going to take a little time there, maybe.
But honestly, if you tell me he's a better run defender than he is a pass rusher, I'm comfortable with that in the short term, knowing that you got to have to make things go right now. The worst thing you can do is get somebody who can't stop the run because they already got problems there. So I look at it, and that, to me, that would be a win.
He at least knows how to play the run well. That's the thing, and the opportunities he got. So that the discipline, I think, when you the one thing that Dallas has kind of struggled with a little bit, and boy, it'll be a different type of running game this week that we're going to talk about here in a few minutes. but still, as far as the depth piece and stuff like that, the right size, the length, hey, you know what? If 4 of my 7 guys and gals say, no, man, take a look at this guy. I mean, he's a guy that we would go get. I trust that Dallas did the right thing here. Instead of just signing somebody off the street that they're going to have. This guy's been practicing. He's been playing. He's been in a training camp. All those things are kind of positives going forward.
One other name, Cowboys look like they're expected to sign a new defensive end to their practice squad, Luigi Villain. Is that how you pronounce it? Is it Luigi or Luigi?
It's Luigi.
I hope it's Luigi Villain, but I think it's Villain.
Villain.
And actually,
I wish
Villain
it was
is
Villain,
so much
though.
better, right? I was like, this is a perfect wrestling name, right?
Yeah, or
Luigi
it's
Villain.
It's the
that's
perfect like Nintendo 64 game from 1989.
No doubt.
Now, I don't know anything about Luigi.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about Luigi because I was working on the Lions. But
Well,
I
we'll
will
figure
fi-
that
I
one
will
out.
Figure out.
But he's on. They're signing him to the practice squad.
squad,
Likelihood
yeah.
is he probably wouldn't be up this week
No,
anyway.
that's
KJ
what I'm
Wright
saying,
probably
yeah.
is the guy that's going to get
Usually
the call up.
we don't study the practice squad dudes.
Yeah,
but
we're not
if he
worried
gets,
about that
if he
too much.
gets the active call, we'll study.
But the point is, they're doing more. They're
Yeah.
getting more bodies, and I think that's really the key to this. Is they're going to need bodies to be able to sustain themselves.
I think the point you made yesterday, because I tried to convince you to go trade for a defensive end,
I wasn't biting.
and you weren't biting. His reason for not trading, I asked him, and I'll ask you this question though: Do you think this front office now it's imperative that they go and trade for a legitimate defensive end?
The thing is, if you go and you trade for a legitimate defensive end, I almost said a name. That would have been bad. I got to get back in the framework. If they went and traded for a legitimate defensive end that is potentially on the market, you're getting him for 3-4 games in an increased role, right? And he's expected to come in and play those 3-4 games as your guy. He's going to be great. But then once Micah Parsons comes back, DeMarcus Lawrence comes back, Marshawn Nealon comes back, Sam Williams comes back next year, what do you do with this guy?
Well, see, this is the thing about it is you're thinking about 6 games for Nealon, 6 games for Tank.
Yeah.
So
You
that,
definitely you need some help.
Yeah.
But is there enough confidence from you for what Chauncey Golston and Tyrus Wheat and Carl Lawson did on Sunday against Pittsburgh?
Oh no, it helped my soul that they
I
played
wouldn't say
well.
I'm confident, but I'm like, we'll see.
But
you know?
but when we talked about the playing against the Steelers, remember it was kind of like, well, they've got some issues at
That's fair.
guard, they've got
That's
some
fair.
issues at tackle, and you're about to play a team. This might be the best offensive line you play against all year.
You'll find out.
This might be the best one.
better than Philly
It's
when they're fully healthy.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so too.
Yeah. Depending on what happens with Frank Ragnow, the center.
Yeah.
What his situation is. But yeah, this is going to be a legitimate. This is going to be hang on to your what, because this is going to be tough. They're going to have to. So we'll see. We'll see with Wheat and Golston and those guys how they play against. I felt like that they matched up well enough against the Steelers. But who matches up well against these guys? I mean, obviously, the Buccaneers went to Detroit and beat them. But everybody else, I mean, Seattle and these games I'm watching, the Arizona game, and just, it's pretty tough up front.
Also, you guys talk about the players that are expected to come back, the injured guys. And I love how everyone is just, we're expecting them to return
And be great?
and be good.
Yeah.
Like, and this, I'm not trying to be negative. Maybe it's just
Yeah, you
the
are.
anxious. No, it's the anxious person in me that I'm always dealing with anxiety, and
You're
I'm always
smart.
thinking worst case scenario and dealing with
but
all
let me-
that. But it's like we know that when players return hurt, it takes them a while.
I don't know that I agree with that when you're talking about a player returning in season and a veteran player like, say, Micah or Tank. Yes, for Sam Williams, there would be concern after he misses an entire year and then comes back after that year and returns coming off an injury. There should be concern about, like, how long is it going to take him to ramp up to getting back to what he was. But I don't know if that's necessarily the case when you're talking about veteran guys that miss a few weeks. Like, they've gone through training camp, they played a few games, they get hurt, they're out for a few weeks, and then they come back. I don't know that I necessarily think it's going to take ramp-up time for them to get back to playing as they were playing before.
I don't know. I do think so with certain players. I mean, not everyone's Tyron Smith that can get hurt, and then when he comes back, he's playing at a high level. And I hope I'm wrong. I'm not saying that, but it's just something to keep in mind that even when they were healthy, they weren't playing at such an amazing level yet. So that's another.
Tank was, I think.
Huh?
I think Tank was.
No,
think
yeah,
Tank was
I'm
playing
talking
really
about
well.
just the defense in general.
Okay,
like
I got you. Yes,
everybody,
the overall unit. Yes,
overall
I got
unit,
you. Yeah.
everyone put together.
Yeah.
That's another thing that was also a problem.
She's
Again,
thinking about Pollard and Steele, and there has been a history up until late. I mean, if you think about the guys,
But
that are
weren't
playing,
they out for longer periods of time, though, is what I'm saying, though. Right?
Oh no, I mean for the year. Kind
Yeah,
of.
that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. That's my
Yeah.
point.
Yeah, I see where I thought I assumed.
but now you're expected to return a lot sooner because you're in season, so you're doing what you can. So I don't know. I mean, I'm again.
It's the anxiety. You
It's
just
just
like
the anxiety in me
yeah.
that it just leads
know
me
what?
to
It's
always think of
PTSD is what it
worst
is.
case scenario type of situation.
What the problem is now is when we looked at the schedule in May when it came out, and you're like, you play the win-loss game, and you're thinking, oh, Atlanta, Commanders. I saw a stat the other day. Dallas is only a 48% chance at best to win any of those games. I mean, there's some that are like, the Commanders, what you would say, Commanders.
45-10 and 42-10.
75% chance.
How
we're gonna-
much are they going to win by?
Yeah,
That was the question.
Atlanta, let's go.
Yeah.
But now it's like this row of games coming up, and you're going, "Damn, are they going to win any of them?"
But is
I mean, but
is
you
Pittsburgh
need
saying-
these players. That's what
Yeah,
I'm saying.
yeah, you do.
You're going to miss all these. Like this week when we start to talk about the Lions and where you can attack, one of their tackles is who you need to go after, and we'll get into that.
Yeah.
But this is a game you would love to have had Micah, just for the reason of he could break this guy down, and I don't know if the others can. But that's the problem I'm running into right now. I feel like I'm kind of showing up at a fight, and I don't have all the weapons.
Yeah, no doubt. But I think
to fight the battle.
to your point about the schedule and looking at the schedule, I think there's already been those moments too where you didn't think New Orleans. When we saw the record, we were like, saw the schedule, we were like, okay, that
New
should
Orleans
be
looks
that should
kind
be
of
a
like
win.
who they are right now.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, but then the flip side of that is Pittsburgh was probably better than what I thought they were when the schedule came out, and Cowboys go and win that one. So the NFL is it's a strange lady. You just never know what's going to happen, and you don't know. It's too early in the year to know who's really good and who's really not, and like where you're seeing things that really will matter as the season plays out.
I'm looking at the Commanders every week, and their defense is
They
ranked
keep looking
31st in most categories. Their offense is first or second in everything else. It's very much it's a weird team. As if you could deal with their offense, you got a chance. If you don't, they're probably going to beat you.
Yeah.
It's just a weird season now.
I watched that whole game last week because we were at the hotel waiting for our game, and they look really good, especially offensively.
Cleveland
really
kind of can be a little bit of a train wreck, but Cleveland's defense, you feel like Cleveland's defense is pretty good.
Yeah, that offense, that Washington offense looks really good right now, and they got a number of guys all over the field. Yeah, it's crazy the number of guys that can actually get you on any given play.
Well, Cliff Kingsbury, the OC there, has learned how to run the ball.
Yeah.
He finally figured out how to run the ball to go with all the craziness that he throws at
When
you.
you have 3 running backs that you can hand it off to, it makes it a
No
little
doubt.
easier.
Yeah,
3 good running backs.
Knock, knock.
All right, we're going to take our first break. When we come back, we're going to dive into the Lions offense versus the Cowboys defense. We'll do that in just a second. This is DallasCowboys.com radio.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
It's the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black. And right now, Cowboys fans can get 15% off their $75 order. Plus, because every deal needs a playmaker, your order will include a free 5-piece skincare set and free shipping. The Jack Black Playmaker is 4 of Jack's favorites and a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Make a play for the Playmaker at getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code Cowboys VIP. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code Cowboys VIP.
Don't put off getting your oil change, Dallas. Take 5 Oil Change, a proud partner of the Cowboys, is faster than you think. There's no appointment needed and no waiting room. Yep, you heard that correctly. Take 5 is so fast, you don't even have to get out of your car. You can take advantage of Take 5's fast, friendly, and simple service at any of their locations across the Dallas area. And remember, at Take 5, you stay in your car because they're faster than you think. Take 5, the official oil change of the Dallas Cowboys.
From the field to the festivities, Lucchese embodies the essence of luxury and tradition. Handcrafted with meticulous precision, each pair offers unmatched comfort and style. Stand tall while you're tailgating or cheering in the stands with the Dallas Cowboys collection by Lucchese. Shop the collection today at the Lucchese store at the Star in Frisco or online at lucchese.com. Lucchese, the official boot of the Dallas Cowboys and Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders.
Hey y'all, Matt Pittman of Meat Church here. With football season kicking off, I'm already gearing up to bring the smoker back to AT&T Stadium for some epic tailgates. But with that Texas heat, it's crucial to keep my beer hand cramping cold. That's where Yeti's insulated Colster can cooler comes in clutch. This year, you can even get them with the iconic star engraved on the side. Licensed Yeti Cowboys gear is now available at Stadium Pro Shops, concessions, and on Yeti.com. Check it out today. Yeti, official cooler and drinkware of the Dallas Cowboys.
Back to the break.
LG OLED Evo is the best TV in the game, but don't take our word for it. Digital Trends said the LG OLED G4 has the best picture quality they've ever seen. See it for yourself at lg.com/OLED Evo.
Welcome back. It is the second segment of the break. We're live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star, and this segment's brought to you by blockchain.com. All right, let's talk about this Detroit offense. I want to start at the part of this offense that I think can be most problematic. Like Pittsburgh, they run a lot. They are fourth in the league in rush attempts. Unlike Pittsburgh, they're very good at it. They're sixth in the league at rushing yards. Give me a scouting report on David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yeah, 2 of the better backs that you're going to face, and they're really interchangeable. The great thing about them is that it doesn't matter who is in the game. They're a team that run the ball from underneath center. So you'll see a lot of you'll see Goff take the snap and he'll walk the ball to these backs, play right directly behind like an I formation setup. And these backs both have tremendous patience. They will allow blocks to develop. And when you look at this offensive line and the way they block, it's pullers, it's trappers, it's pinners, there's a lot of movement going on. And usually when and they'll play with heavy personnel. And I'm saying this because of the backs, because of how patient they are. But sometimes you'll find they'll have a move guy, and he'll move and he'll take you right to where the ball's going. And then sometimes they'll have the guy move and he'll come back and block back, but the ball will still go to the front side. So they like to get a lot of blockers at the point of attack. Okay, to do all this, you have to have backs that are very patient in the way they run. They're just not going to fire it up in there and then get stopped for 3 yards. They're going to let this thing develop a little bit. They're going to cut it. They're going to take it front side. They're going to explode. They're very, very difficult to deal with because of the running style is very similar. They're tough runners. They find holes. They have good vision. You could toss it to them. You could hand it to them inside. It doesn't matter. They're going to make guys miss, usually make the first guy miss, and then be problems for you on the second level.
That being said, it sounds like in order to be successful, you have to have a defensive front that's smart and disciplined.
Yeah.
How much is that a concern, knowing that
Huge.
they have a lot of players that are, again, just getting accustomed to playing together as a unit?
Yeah, the bigger problem you run into, Dallas's losses this year have been with offensive lines that are able to get blockers up on them. Mm-hmm. This group right here, when you watch them block as a unit, they're not interested. They're much like what we saw with the Ravens and much like what we saw with the Saints. It's like they will take a step, they will shove a guy, and then go. They're not interested in staying on, sustaining. It's like they're good enough that they trust Ragnow, Zeitler, Penny Sewell. They trust that those guys will one-on-one be able to block. So when they combo block, it's not like stay on, secure the down guy, and then get second level. Dallas has played well against teams that can't get blockers up on them. This is going to be a challenge this week because they are going to shove Mozzie Smith to the next guy, and then they're going to go. They're not going to even try. And, it's like, hey, you're good enough. Take him. I'm going up. That's how these guys block. And that's why their running game is so good, because they're able to handle those one-on-one blocks and then get it up to the second level. So these linebackers for the Cowboys are going to be fighting it all day with guys in their face. It's going to be really a tough matchup.
I saw some interesting next-gen stats on Goff. It said he attempted deep passes, and that would be 20-plus air yards, just 5.6% of the attempts. They don't do it. They're third worst in the league.
They're worst in the league.
And 6 to 7 of those passes went to Jamison Williams, who we'll talk about in a second. Only 2 completions out of that. My question is, how do you disrupt Goff? Like, he obviously still has the ability to get the ball out. He's got good receivers. They still are moving the ball through the air. How do you disrupt what they do in their passing game, knowing that, again, they're not really too worried about trying to go deep on you?
No, and that's why it's hard to disrupt him, because the line is good as pass protectors. Where they do struggle a little bit, though, is with the blitz pickup stuff. Well, like Gibbs, when you look at pressures where I think you need to attack, and this is where if Micah was available, or even Tank, but someone's got to figure out a way to get after Taylor Decker, the left tackle. He's the one that allows the most pressures. He's the one that you could break down. Penny Sewell on the other side, he's really, really good on that right side there. So if they have a problem in a couple of spots, Decker at left tackle, if Graham Glasnow plays center instead of Frank Ragnow. These are funny names with the OW last name endings. But if Ragnow doesn't play, that puts Glasnow at center. Now, he struggles more at center than he does at guard. This is where the disruption is going to happen, because this team loves to throw the ball in the middle of the field. When you watch these routes, you watch Williams, St. Brown, Raymond, Robinson, Patrick, all these routes are coming to the middle of the field. That's what they want to do. Nobody throws more routes to the middle of the field, in breaking routes, crossing routes than these guys. So that's the idea is, though, you've got to get people to him quick, because he's going to find that crosser, whether it's a shallow crosser or somebody in the intermediate range. It's funny to watch them play. You're right. They don't throw the ball down the field at all. I mean, you don't see anything going deep at all, which is surprising. And Dallas has kind of given up some deep balls. Maybe they'll try it just with, what you mentioned with Williams, just running vertical, but they just don't run vertical routes. Everything is in breaking. Everything is where the ball can get out quick. And, that's the issue. They're not going to let this quarterback get hit. But when they do let him get hit, it's generally Taylor Decker on the left side. He's the one that gives up pressures and sacks. And then also, too, it's Graham Glasnow, the center, who's playing backup for Frank Ragnow. Now, if Glasnow has to play guard, he'll play left guard if Ragnow plays this week. So then that will be the next pressure point, the left side, left tackle and the left guard.
We're starting to hear the possibilities that Deron Bland might return in some capacity.
25 plays, I heard.
Yeah, so if he's back and hope maybe that you get Carson back as well, talk to me about how they can match up against these guys, particularly St. Brown and Williams. I think those are the two guys you worry the most about. We'll get to Sam Laporta in a second at the tight end position, but as the receivers, those are two I think you worry about the most. How does Dallas match up?
You got thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I think here with Jamison Williams specifically, he's starting to really unload his bag in this season. I think he's finally starting to find his footing. Yeah. Dealt with the suspension, kind of bounced back from that, and I think he's comfortable with the offense now. You pair him with Amon-Ra St. Brown, who in my opinion is one of the better route runners in the entire league.
Facts.
And you have a guy who could stretch the field. Now, again, they haven't been doing that, but he is a guy that can. And
he has one touchdown on a deep ball this year.
Yeah, you definitely got to keep him honest. But with Jamison Williams, he's got a little bit of physicality off the line that I think could disrupt either Bland or Carson, considering that they're both but coming back from injuries. I think that physicality could lead to a couple of issues if either of those guys were to match up. I personally like Bland on Amon-Ra a little bit better and Diggs on Williams a little bit better. I think that would be the favorable matchup for the Cowboys if they were to line up against these guys on any given play. But I do wonder if they're trotting Bland out in this limited role, you say 25 plays, Brian, then can those two guys build consistency as the game goes on? Is it a situation where they throw Bland out until he hits 25 snaps, or do they rotate Carson and Bland in? I think that's probably what the solution will be. And if that's the case, then how can these guys build a rhythm against a really talented receiver in Jamison Williams? Because what Jamison Williams is going to do is he's going to pick up every single tendency that each of those two guys have, and as they come off the field and then come back on, he's going to attack them whenever they come back on. So he's a talented receiver. He comes from really a solid pedigree from his college and high school days. I think he's a guy you definitely got to be able to keep honest in this game. He is coming into his own as an NFL receiver. He is just as deadly as Amon-Ra.
Yeah, I think he's absolutely right about that. And you can throw in there Tim Patrick, though, too, has made some plays for him as well.
Didn't he come from Denver?
Tim Patrick, he did. Yeah. He did. You mentioned Sam Laporta, and I look at this as a situation for a Maris Luafau or DeMarvion Overshown to be able to cover. I've been kind of toying with this idea in the last couple of weeks specifically. When do you start rotating Marquise Bell in for Donovan Wilson, especially on passing downs? I think there's a situation here where you look at it, and if you want to send Maris Luafau on a third down blitz, which he has that type of ability, then you need a safety to be able to cover Laporta. Bell's your guy. Bell's your guy that could do that. He proved to do that last year. I wonder whenever there is a situation when Bell comes in on passing downs and they keep Wilson on the field for running downs, I think that would be more beneficial for this defense.
You know what? I wouldn't be opposed to putting Jordan Lewis on him too.
Absolutely.
Treat him.
We've seen that.
Yeah. I mean, early in the season, Laporta had an ankle or foot injury, and it was causing. He wasn't running routes down the field. He's back to running routes down the field now, and I would not be opposed to. If I'm going to get beat by Tim Patrick or somebody like that playing 11 personnel or whatever, so be it. I'm not good enough then. If I'm getting beat, but if I had to cover, if I had to play out of the slot. St. Brown is a pain in the rear. There's no question about that. But I would maybe mix it up a little bit with the coverage between him and Laporta with Jordan Lewis and just try and throw the rhythm off a little bit by the Lions. Like, well, we can't go with they're putting one of their best cover guys on one of our better receivers. Yep. And you know that Lewis will battle him. He'll stay with him. He'll battle him. He'll make it contested catches and stuff. Laporta doesn't. Man, I don't think these guys have dropped a ball this year. By the way, I was just looking. I was curious.
The whole team?
Yeah. Their skill guys. I don't think they have a drop with their skill guys. I mean, and I think that includes the backs. I might be wrong about that, but I was looking at numbers and I was like, going, these guys don't. You're gonna spell check me on this one?
I'm looking here.
That would be crazy.
I think I saw a deal where. Wow. Well, if you watch the Seattle game, the guy didn't miss a pass.
Yeah, that was he's perfect.
I don't think they have a drop. I don't think that the receivers have a drop.
Well, the first thing that popped up is the NFC Championship game last year. They had 4 costly drops in the second half. So maybe that was emphasized this offseason. But there's not an official stat anywhere for
maybe
this.
They've been working on that.
I think I was looking at on our next gen stuff, and I was just curious. Like, do these guys drop the ball? Because the quarterback was like 18 of 18 in that Seattle game, and I'm like, God, well, I guess I haven't seen any. Yeah. But yeah, it's a. I would consider, because Laporta is going to be tough to deal with. But like I say, Jordan Lewis is a tough tough guy himself. I mean, I'd sure consider it,
Take me back to last year when these two teams matched up. It seems, if my memory serves me correct, Sam Laporta didn't really have it wasn't until closer to the end of the game that he really got going, and then he had some big plays for them. Is that how you guys remember it? And how did Dallas necessarily, do you remember how maybe Dallas approached that last year with regards to Laporta?
You mentioned just whenever he was able to kind of find his rhythm in that game.
Yeah, I'm saying it seemed like most of the game he wasn't really making big plays on Dallas. Toward the end of the game, I think he made a couple big plays on them. But that being said, I was just wondering if Dallas even last year, did they consider using Jordan Lewis? Was Jordan Lewis a part of the equation on how you take care of Sam Laporta?
I believe he was. I can't recall specifically.
Something we can go back and check.
But
on.
I will mention just in general what I think worked against Detroit last year. And
the referees.
Eligibility for sure.
Dan Skipper not reporting.
I think it was Decker. Was it Decker or Skipper? I think
somebody.
Oh, Skipper was losing his mind, so he was a part of all that. Yeah.
Oh, he won the only one. Dan Campbell was about to come unglued.
Yeah.
I think what worked in that game last year, that was a game that I expected them to lose by 2 scores. I think what worked for them in that game is they matched Detroit's physicality, and it blew my mind because you didn't see it the rest of the season or before that. And I think that's very similar to what they have to do in this game. I talked about this team needing to be tough, and I think if they can match the physicality of a Detroit Lions team, of a Detroit Lions tight end like Sam Laporta, who does play physically, especially at the point of attack and especially at the catch point as well, you have to be able to line up with him and throw a hand on him.
Give me some examples of that. When you say they match their physicality, tell me some things that stood out to you, some specific things that stood out to you where you were like, this is what you need to see from this team from the standpoint of their physicality.
Yeah, more so trench work, because that was where I expected them to just get overwhelmed last year. But you look at Damone Clark, that was a game that I really appreciated from him last season. I mean, Damone Clark, it looks like he's just a guy you're not going to see on the defensive side too much for the rest of the year with the linebackers that they have on the team right now and kind of how that snap share has been going around.
Yeah.
But if we're talking about last year's game, look at the front. Look at DeMarcus Lawrence. I mean, he was really active in the run game. It's really tough that you don't have him in this game with these two running backs, specifically with Jahmyr Gibbs, because DeMarcus Lawrence does such a good job against outside zone type running backs. That is what Jahmyr Gibbs is. I will say, though, he is starting to find his rhythm between the tackles finally. I think once he really does find his stride there, he's going to be a top 3 running back in the league. I firmly believe that. But David Montgomery, I mean, he's a guy you have to respect, too, when it comes to physicality. He's a guy that will take it, go down the hole, and he'll lay a pop on you. And I think with guys like Eric Kendricks, DeMarvion Overshown has shown so much physicality these first few weeks. Those are going to have to be guys that fill run lanes and lay a pop on these guys and make them rotate off the field for a couple of plays. Because you saw that happen last year, and then as they're working down the field on drives, guys are having to rotate out, and that's offensively, defensively. You don't really see that with Detroit in most games, unless they do play a Tampa Bay who can match their physicality with guys like Tristan Wirfs up front. I think he did such a good job, Graham Barton as well. But I think whenever you look at the Cowboys case specifically, you want Tyler Smith to get after it and get nasty. You want Cooper Beebe to do that as well. It's going to be really imperative in this game.
All right, we're going to take our final break. We'll come back. I got some names on the Cowboys defense, and I want to get some evaluations from you guys on how you think they performed in this last game. A lot of them, this last game, they played more than they've played all season. So I want to figure out how you guys feel like they played in that game and then project what you think that might mean for this week's game. We'll be back. DallasCowboys.com radio.
If you can't be at the stadium, there's no better way to watch your Cowboys than on an LG OLED Evo TV. That's because everything you see is more lifelike. Every play, every hit. I mean, you might as well be on the sidelines. That's how clear it is. It's all thanks to LG's legendary technology. Perfect black, over 8.3 million self-lit pixels. No one comes close. LG OLED Evo is the best TV in the game for a reason. See for yourself at lg.com/OLED Evo.
They say champions are remembered, but legends are never forgotten. United Ag and Turf offers a winning lineup of John Deere equipment built to tackle any challenge on and off the field. Legendary John Deere tractors, combines, residential mowers, commercial mowers, compact construction equipment, Gator utility vehicles, and a full line of golf and sports turf equipment. United Ag and Turf, the official Ag and Turf equipment supplier of the Dallas Cowboys. Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com to find a location near you.
If you shout, "How about them Cowboys?" you have that undeniable passion that's the heart of Cowboys Nation. And if you like to drink Dr. Pepper, you love the unique blend of its 23 flavors. Together, your one-of-a-kind fandom paired with the one-of-a-kind taste of a delicious ice-cold Dr. Pepper is the game day lineup that can't be beat. Better yet, gather your Cowboys and Dr. Pepper fan friends to watch the next game and crack open a delicious ice-cold Dr. Pepper for everyone. The wins will be even tastier. It's a Pepper thing.
And we're going to overtime.
Erica, how much have I spent on concessions?
For questions about their money, Dallas Cowboys fans can turn to Erica, the virtual financial assistant in the Bank of America mobile banking app. Learn more at bankofamerica.com/Erica by your side. Bank of America, official bank of the Dallas Cowboys. Erica responses may vary. Digital tools featured require downloading the mobile banking app and may only be available on select mobile devices. Erica is a mobile feature only available in the English language. Your chat may be recorded and monitored for quality assurance. Message and data rates and additional terms may apply. Bank of America, N.A., member FDIC.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
Back to the break.
AT&T connecting changes everything.
Welcome back to the final segment of the break, live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star. Uh-oh, you doing work?
Yes.
¿Cómo se dice multitasking en español?
Multitasco. No,
I was going to say, that sounds fake. I was just about to say, that sounds fake. There's no way.
I don't know Spanish, but I'm guessing that's not right.
I bought it. I was like, wow, yeah.
That sounds like something I would say, not being a Spanish speaker.
Multitasco.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, it sounds right. Anyway.
It doesn't translate, does it?
I don't even know. I don't even know how you would say that. Multitasking. Let's ask Google real quick. Nah, that doesn't sound right.
Yeah.
Multitarea. That doesn't sound right.
Yeah, that sounds more fake.
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway, welcome back. Final segment of the break, live from SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star. Okay, so I have some names for you guys. These are all defensive players. Oh, yeah, real quick, Brian.
Yeah, I went back and looked at Sam Laporta by nearest defender in last year's game. Marquise Bell carried him for 2 snaps, 2 targets, 2 receptions, 32 yards. Javon Curse had him for three targets, 3 receptions. So against your safeties, he was 5 for 5.
But let's make a distinction.
Technically, Bell is a linebacker, right?
Yeah, they called him a safety here. Donovan Wilson had him for 3, and he only had 1 reception for 15 yards.
All right, well, shoot me
Damone
down.
Clark was 1 for 1. He had 8 yards on that catch. Stephon Gilmore, 0 for 2. Gilmore
so you put a corner on him.
Put a corner. How about this? Bland, 0 for 1.
There you go. That may be your answer.
When they put the corners on him, he went 0 for 3.
Something that they do like to do with Laporta is they like to isolate him on one side of the ball, but they'll put him in the slot, and they'll have 3 receivers to the left.
Right.
And they'll isolate him on the side with a Gilmore or a Bland type of corner. I'm talking about with other teams, he's able to beat them a little bit better.
Yeah.
Because he has some wiggle. He does. He's a really talented.
This is a bunch formation team too. They'll get you real tight in there and stuff, and so got to be ready for that. But it looked like the corners actually maybe we're onto something here.
Maybe that's your answer.
Maybe I need to tell Mike, hey, Mike, listen, last year they put corners on this dude and they didn't have a catch.
Hey, man.
All right?
They
Get
listen.
it done.
They listen. They listen. Hi, Mike. They listen.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk. Here's some names for you. I've got some defensive players, and I want you guys to tell me, give me some evaluations on what you saw from this last game and what you project that to be going forward. Let's start first with Carl Lawson, defensive end.
I think when you look at his ability to rush the passer.
He does pass the rusher a lot.
He does. He does. But I think there is an ability that he can kind of unlock a little bit more, and it may just be a product of him missing the majority of camp, coming in late, and then obviously not really finding his footing just yet. But I think there is another level that he could take. He's on the active roster now. I would assume with the way he's been playing overall, then there's probably a way to keep him on the active roster even when Parsons and Lawrence come back.
Yeah.
But I think overall you're wanting a little bit more from Lawson. I think when I look at all 3 of these defensive ends in general, and I don't want to get too ahead of you here, Golston's been the one that I've appreciated the most.
We'll get to him.
Yeah. I like what you said there. You got some on that one, AG?
I mean, the way you watched him last game, Golston, I mean, the way he played and the way he just is so aggressive and powerful and just goes for it. He's great. I love him. Lawson, it's just kind of like with the rest of everybody else in that position, you just want to see more from him. But I think for what is being asked, given the scenario that he's being placed in, he's been okay. Like I see him more of like your Band-Aid type of guy, that he serves as a body and a presence that is there in the absence of these other guys that are not being there right now due to injury.
Yeah, his Band-Aid's like an amputation, though. We're trying to blood just
He just went for the throat.
It's true.
Did you feel that way?
When you lose 4 players at one position, it feels
it feels like I've lost my arm and it's just blood is and like here's
got a Band-Aid?
Here's Carl Lawson standing there going.
Ain't gonna do it.
He's trying to.
As blood's just squirting.
Even a tourniquet ain't working. God,
Wow.
This is some blood loss. The thing with Lawson, the next, we've talked about the schedule ahead. There's this game, the 49ers, it's not going to get easier. I mean, and the games that he's going to have to play, he's going to have to, if you could somehow, some way get Carl Lawson to 5 years ago, that would be awesome. You're probably not going to get that. But don't be the guy that's a liability out there. You know, if you can play the run, if you get off a block, if you get occasional pressure too. I'm not asking you to get 2-3 sacks a game or anything like that. I'm just asking you, come up with a pressure to play some run defense. Don't jump off sides when it's 3rd down and they throw the ball and you intercept it, and now they get a free play. You know, play with some discipline, be a veteran, be a leader, do what you have to do to keep your job on the 53 when everybody starts to come back.
I will say his first 2 elevations that he had ahead of the Pittsburgh game, you saw him trying to play a little bit more of that hero ball. And when that was mentioned in the locker room, he wasn't the first guy that I thought of, but when I went back on tape, he was one of the guys that you could probably look at on a few plays and be like, okay, he's trying to do a little bit too much.
Maybe
here.
not knowing
he's
what's going
the
on.
Assignment, and he's leaving some guys out to dry, especially in the second level. You didn't see that as much in Pittsburgh. He's really starting to play with the unit now. And
well, he's got to figure it out
as well. I mean, from locker room interactions to just kind of seeing them when I was with you guys, just around the building and whatnot, he didn't really talk to anybody for a long time while he was here. After the game in Pittsburgh, him, Chauncey Golson, Tyrus Wheat, they were inseparable. They were in the locker room. They were chopping it up. They were laughing about how Carl Lawson somehow got attributed with the half sack. They were like, you didn't deserve that, but they were laughing back and forth about it. It was the first time I've seen Carl Lawson really integrate with any of these guys since he's been here. I think that's, you talk about locker room stuff, that is big, especially with those guys right now, because those 3 guys really have to come together, and they can't isolate either one. They can't try to play hero ball. They have to play together as a unit, or it will not work until they get Parsons and Lawrence back.
Yeah, I'll give a little shout out to my guy Alex Lilly on Sounds of the Sideline. Same thing. He captured them on the sideline talking about the
I need to watch it. I need to get back to it.
Yeah, he sent it out. We sent it out this morning, but it was a good video as usual. But they were talking about the same thing at that time and kind of joking around like, I don't know, half a sack. I don't know. He was already down, whatever. But
I
it
broke
was
the
good.
news that Carl Lawson ended up getting the half sack, and they were like, oh, whatever.
Yeah.
So it was
but it's true though. I mean, I think a lot of times when you go to a new team, people don't necessarily think about that. Integrating into a locker room of 53 guys. Yeah. When you're from outside and these guys have been around each other, they know each other. A lot of them have been around each other for years.
He didn't know anybody.
Yeah, sometimes breaking into that can be a little difficult, especially if you're not playing. Yeah. And so I do think him actually playing on the field gives them that opportunity to bond. And you talked about the 3 guys that primarily were playing defensive end for you last weekend, and that becomes a bonding point. You go through adversity with somebody, that becomes a bonding point. So hopefully that continues, and their chemistry continues to grow as a part of that as well. Talk to me about Mazi Smith. What did you guys see from Mazi Smith last week?
Brian?
It was much I think he was better against the Giants. I still feel like, though, the effort is really good. His pad level gets him in trouble at times. And it's not – I don't think it's because of conditioning and things like that. I think he just forgets to play with bended knees and fire off the ball and control blockers. Did a great job against the Giants doing that. Played low, played square, played where this one it wasn't getting late. It was just he gets too high at times. He gets in and instead of staying down, he plays up, and then they catch him. And, here was a team that was not going to get any blockers up on the second level. So he was fighting double team blocks really the whole day. But he was too high a couple of different times. You got to play a better knee bend, got to do a better job of getting rid of guys and playing with power. He'll have his hands full this weekend with, if Glasnow is the center, that's a little bit different story. Ragnow will snatch you. And you got to be ready for that. But he's got to play with better bended knees in these games.
I agree with your point on him being better versus the Giants. Again, that was a career game for him.
Yeah.
I think something that helped him against Pittsburgh that I think could be a trend as you look forward into the season, Linval Joseph helped him out a lot more in the sense that when he rotated on the field, he was pushing some guys on their butt. And Linval Joseph had his best game as a Dallas Cowboy against the Steelers.
It's like he was in shape a little bit.
Well, my hope is that now that's where he's getting. Like, he's a good player. We all thought he was a good player when they signed him. He just had to get there because he didn't do training camp.
And I think when you look at Mazi Smith's case, whenever you get put on your butt and then you have a really athletic type of one tech, because he's not an athletic person, but when you factor in that he is what he is at nose tackle, he is an athletic being, and whenever you have to account for that after getting put on your butt, it's difficult. And you saw some of those snaps where he would rotate on for the first couple of snaps, and he would be able to beat some guys. He would able to be able to slide over, reach around and be able to grab some running lanes. I think that was really big. Linval Joseph being able, whenever he did rotate in, it wasn't pedestrian work. It was Mazi Smith was able to rotate back in with these guys still reeling. That really hasn't been the case these first 4 weeks.
All right.
Well, I think why am I this way? I don't understand. But I think with him, my bar is set so low that now, like, I feel positive about him. I'm like, okay, that's 2 games in a row where he's showing progress, and more importantly, for me, the mental part of it, where he's willing to keep fighting and he's willing to stay in there, because we know how last year was. And we talked about this over and over during training camp, just kind of the verbal beatdown that he was receiving from his coach. And that can really mess you up mentally. And you don't know, am I even made out for this? It can mess you up in that way. But I like his tenacity and wanting to just keep fighting. And just now you're trying to get a little bit more of consistency from him. It's not fully there, but you're starting to see moments of it where it's positive plays here and there.
It's not a liability.
Yeah, exactly. So
and that's improvement.
Yeah, it's improvement. Yeah.
But again, my bar is set all the way down here. But I'm feeling okay with him. Obviously, year 2 for a guy like that, where you picked him in the draft, you want to see a lot more from him. But hopefully he'll get there.
I had an off-the-record conversation with Jonathan Hankins in the locker room last year, and I won't share everything from that conversation because it was off the record. But
then why mention it?
There was one because there was one
seriously,
point.
I hate when people do that. Why mention it?
Because there was
Say
one point.
Spit it out.
There was one point that he made that has always stuck in my head with Mazi Smith. And if I didn't have this point in my head, I probably would have gave up completely on Mazi Smith after last season and after a couple of weeks in training camp too, because I just didn't see it even after we were in Oxnard for a little bit. But he's like, hey, I respect you, but the nose tackle position, no one really understands how hard it is to come into this league and play nose tackle early in your career and succeed at it. He's like, there's not a lot of guys that do that. Aaron Donald's done that. There's been a slow handful. He was like, go back and look at me when I was first starting my first 2-3 years. It was the worst football I've played in my career, including college. And then we look up and he's 14 years in the league or however long it's been. So I've always factored that in because he's right. I don't know what it takes to be able to play at the nose tackle position. And so I've kind of factored that in. And now as he's starting to put these good games together, that conversation is really starting to key back into my brain. Like, he may have been onto something there, and it may be coming along a little bit quicker for Mazi than it did for Hankins. And if that's the case, that's a beautiful scenario for the Cowboys.
That's a great story because it does give you some perspective from someone who's had to do it. And now that we look at him, we say he's had a really good career for a defensive tackle in the NFL, one technique. And so that's good perspective. All right, we appreciate you guys joining us. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll dive into the defense for the Detroit Lions versus the Cowboys offense. Till then, for Nick Harris, Bryan Broaddus, and Ambar Garcia, I'm Derek Eagleton. This has been The Break, live on DallasCowboys.com radio.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!